So I will begin by saying not only is support for this bill bipartisan, totally bipartisan, but opposition to this bill is totally bipartisan. And the way that this bill came about is there's a Republican member of Congress from Texas named Chip Roy, and he went to UVA, spent some time in Virginia, and we have the same birthday. And so we both came into Congress in January 2019. We were sworn in. UVA basketball was doing really well. He's wearing a UVA tie, like your tie, like basketball, right? Both UVA grads, same birthday, oddly enough. And so, we decided that that was enough to start a friendship. And so we would periodically talk about what are some things that we really agree on or don't agree on. And the answer is Chip's in a very different place. He's been in the news on a variety of different times for being in, a very different place politically than I am. But in the early days of COVID, when there were all those news reports about, so-and-so is trading this stock and buying this stock and it's Clorox and it's pharmaceuticals and it's things that for even a layperson clearly seems linked to COVID, we were having a conversation on the floor of the House about just how ridiculous this is. We're dealing with emergency after emergency in our districts, right? We've got nursing homes where people are dying and loved ones can't get in. So I'm getting constituent calls from people who are just reeked with worry and sadness. I'm talking to hospitals that can't get PPE, right? All of these things. People are suddenly laid off and the unemployment system's overwhelmed, et cetera, et cetera. And somebody's buying and selling stocks, right? And so we had this conversation where we both expressed this kind of shared sense of like, you have to be kidding me. And also this is what's wrong with politics, because good on the media for reporting on these things, but every time it's reported on, there's somebody somewhere that's like, yep, that's it. Yep, look at that. They're making money off of this and they're making money off of that. And so Chip and I got to talking about it and said, the reality is we take votes all the time that move markets. We meet with CEOs all the time because it's actually relevant to my job. And they speak very openly with us. But the only reason I have that meeting is because I'm in Congress. And the only reason I have that meeting is it's supposed to help me make informed decisions about issues in a particular industry. But as we're having these open conversations, like I'm getting far more information. And, insider trading, to be clear, insider trading is illegal, but I'm getting way more access to trends and feelings and vibes and all the things than than any of the people that I represent. And then with our votes, between the Farm Bill or the NDAA, like there's major investments in certain technologies, right? The CHIPS Act that we passed, bipartisan bill, phenomenally important for America's ability to become less dependent on China and Taiwan for semiconductors, but clearly going to be a major driver and of benefit to, particular industries and maybe even companies. And so we said, this is pretty straightforward. It doesn't necessarily even matter if people are doing this with a negative intent. If someone's leaving that meeting with the CEO and saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to go buy this stock or sell this stock, or they're thinking that through when they vote on a particular bill. The fact that it even has the perception of impropriety is enough to degrade the trust that the American people have in us. And, I come from a background at CIA. I used to get strapped up to a polygraph all the time. I had like all of these provisions and restrictions on my life because of the trust that was granted to me by the United States government. And so in reality, Chip and I said, there's no reason that you should even buy and sell individual stocks. Save for your retirement in a 401k, sure. Diversified mutual funds, sure. But who's got time to buy and sell individual stocks? So that's the genesis of the legislation. And then we quickly found out that a lot of people hate it and a lot of people love it. And, but we continue to make progress on it. I think it's also, I don't want to say it's a generational thing, but I will say that people who have been in Congress for a long time I've had conversations where my colleagues are saying, "You're saying that we're corrupt," right? And they're actually earnestly offended by the principle of the legislation, right? And some of these folks don't actually have any stock holdings; they wouldn't be impacted at all, but they think that I'm making Congress look bad. And it's been interesting along the way because I've said, Congress already looks bad. People are already unhappy with us. This Yeah, this is actually us being able to say, "You know what? We're not doing anything wrong." If you want to say that, we're not doing anything wrong, but we want to remove even the doubt that you have that we're doing something wrong, right? And I'm the oldest of three girls, and when I was younger, and my I was always had very strong opinions about all the things my sisters should be doing, which of course I was always very, very helpful. And but my mother used to say, and I remember very vividly, that their perception, right, when I'd get in trouble for whatever I was doing, their perception is their reality. And so the bottom line is, if constituents are like, "Ugh, we're done," like they're corrupt, they don't care, etc., that creates a reality that now we have a responsibility to try and disrupt. And I certainly don't think banning members of Congress from buying or selling individual stocks is going to, all of a sudden give us a soaring approval rate as an institution. But I do think that it's an affirmative action that one can take to say, we hear you, and here's a little way that I can endeavor to, show you that I am not only trustworthy, but trying to be worthy of your trust and recognizing the areas where there might be places where you have doubt.